Thank you very, very much for joining us today. Oh, wow, what a wonderful crowd. Thank you so much. So, my name is Andrew Sliwinski, and I lead product development for LEGO Education. So that is the design and the engineering, and probably most importantly for this talk, the educational impact of the LEGO Group's learning products. Now, I want to start us with a little bit of a poll, and this is going to be a very biased poll, both given the name of this session and the fact that we're at Bett. I'm going to guess that I'm going to see a lot of hands, but please put your hand up if you believe that AI literacy for children is fundamental. Don't be shy. Wonderful. Okay, now keep your hands up. Keep them up. Keep your hands up. Now, only keep them up if you believe that you feel 100% confident that you can bring these topics to children today. Do you have everything that you need? If you lowered your hand, you are certainly not alone. The technology in this space is advancing unbelievably quickly, and educational systems, but also educators ourselves, are under a tremendous amount of pressure to keep up. While the vast majority of educators, just as we saw in the room, do believe that teaching AI literacy to children is fundamental, less than half, and this is less than half of CS specialist educators, feel prepared to bring it into classrooms today. But this pressure that we feel, it has some interesting side effects. Right? The latest AI milestones, they seem to somehow be able to fill us with this unbridled optimism for a newly possible future or existential dread. But in our obsession with what computers can do, I fear that we've lost track of what children can do, what children are capable of. We've painted this picture where we see children as a sort of passive victim of technological progress rather than as its primary architect. I think one narrative in education right now is that AI is this kind of tidal wave coming to wash away human relevance, and it's our job as educators to sort of rapidly teach children how to tread water. But what if we instead focused on what children are capable of, what children think, what children want to do with AI? At the LEGO Group, we believe that children are our role models. And so when we design our products, we actually talk to kids. We go out into the world and we talk to them. We want to understand what they think. And so I want to show you a small little glimpse of the types of things that they tell us. This is truly unscripted, so take a look.
Okay, class. Today, we're going to talk about AI. What have we heard about it? Everly, I see you back there.
If you ask it to write an essay about something, it will write your essay for you, and that some people cheat on their essays.
Oh.
You can put fake videos of people online.
It could give me wrong information. I searched a question, and the AI overview literally said the opposite of what was right.
One of my real big worries is about it taking jobs. You're already seeing that. AI is trying to be teachers.
Well, I'm in trouble then, huh? Are you allowed to use it for schoolwork?
No!
Okay, so be honest. How many of you are using it anyway? It seems like we have a problem here. So how would you fix it? Today, you're going to create our new AI policy. Right now. Desks together, groups of 4, please. Let's do this.
I think that we really need to learn a lot about AI now because we can already tell that it's going to be a huge part of our lives.
So I've heard about people making friends and socializing with AI, and I feel like that's a little bit concerning. AIs don't have personalities. They kind of just agree with everything you say.
You need a friend that's willing to tell you, if you're wrong and tell you if you're right, if you actually, and be honest with you.
AI should be a tool and not a friend.
Not everybody has access to AI. Whether it's because they don't have a device at home or they don't have internet or stuff like that. So only use AI if everyone can use AI.
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea.
It can't answer certain things, and it can't like write essays or something.
Yeah, right,
but it can pull trustworthy sources for you.
Yeah, write that down.
It was really fun to kind of just pool all of our knowledge together because we were all learning a lot from each other.
AI can track your digital footprint.
So just be careful with it.
AI safety should be mandatory.
Kids never get to make the rules at school. I'm not even sure who does, since I don't think the principal does. I have no idea who actually makes the rules at my school. Over-reliance on AI will make it so you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
I feel like we just need a class that will teach us how to navigate AI and make sure that our brains don't turn into mush because of it.
It's really important to use AI responsibly and do what your teachers say.
I don't want an AI teacher. You know, there's like no emotion there. A better combo is the teacher using the AI, and then they're both teaching the children.
AI is really empowering if you have some guidelines around it.
Honestly, I'm just curious how it works, and I think that a lot of kids are.
I would love to learn how it can be used in everyday life and how it can be used as an accurate source of information.
AI is like taxes. It's unavoidable, and if you don't learn to evolve with it, you're gonna be left behind.
I definitely want to be a part of solving big problems. We need to have a say in AI policies because AI literacy is really important.
Thanks for finally asking us what we think. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much. So, I think what you see there is that children don't want to just learn how to use AI. They want to understand it. And they want to build things with it actively for their communities, for their friends, for their families. And they also have incredibly clear and articulate ideas about how it should and shouldn't be used, both in the classroom and in society more broadly. But of course, confidence and excitement is not the same thing as competence, right? While most children actually don't understand the fundamentals of AI, and that can have a variety of side effects. One of the ones that I'm really focused on is many young children see AI as a kind of magic, right? This magic box where a prompt goes in and images and videos, or, like we saw, book reports come out, right? But AI isn't magic. AI is technology. And AI literacy shouldn't be about teaching children how to use a magic box. It should be about handing children a screwdriver to take the magic box apart and build things from the pieces. I argue that we really need to expand our definition of AI literacy from just how to use these tools safely and ethically and effectively. That is important. But we need to put more of our emphasis, we need to put more of our energy into helping children understand the fundamental concepts that underlie all AI systems, now and into the future. These literacies, these foundations, right? So statistics and probability and machine reasoning and representation and algorithmic bias, these should not be electives for a select few. These need to be elevated to the level of fundamental literacies, right alongside numeracy and reading and creativity and collaboration as fundamental skills for the future. And if we're going to do this, if we're going to bring this to children, we need to do so responsibly. When we talk with kids, we end up with all of these wonderful quotes. And I love this one from a 10-year-old. AI should be safe, fair, transparent, and respect privacy. It's like, that's a really smart 10-year-old. Like, we agree, that's great. But what does that mean? So I'm going to break this down a little bit. So in terms of safety, I'm going to give you two concrete examples. The first is while most generative systems can be made safer, most cannot be made safe. And at the LEGO Group, we hold ourselves to an incredibly high standard. If we can't guarantee safety in the classroom, we don't bring it in. The other one is we don't anthropomorphize AI. That's a really fancy way of saying we don't give human-like features or human-like traits to an AI. We don't give an AI a face or a name or describe it as creative. Creativity is for humans. Creativity is for children. And if we don't do this, we can end up with a variety of cognitive and behavioral and emotional side effects that are really challenging, like kids feeling more comfortable talking to an AI than they do with a trusted parent or a teacher or a friend. The next one is fairness. Everything that we do at LEGO Education is anchored in accessibility. So when we design our products, yes, we cater to motor disabilities and low vision and blindness, but that also includes neurodivergence. So we work with Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, as a part of everything that we do. The next one is transparency, and I don't feel like this gets enough attention. If we want children to understand how these tools work at a fundamental level, then we need to show them the data that is used to build these models, and that is very often not the case. You know, the way that I like to approach it at LEGO Education is let's let the kids generate their own inputs for the model and design and build their own machine learning models. But when we use a model, we make sure that there's clear what's called data provenance. So there's transparency about the types of data that was used to train the model and the types of bias that it may have. And the last is privacy. At the LEGO Group, we believe that privacy is a fundamental human right, and that also applies to children. And so when we design these tools, we make sure that no child data ever leaves the classroom. You know, no data from a child should ever be transmitted across the internet to us or any other third party. And these are values that I would really like to see spread across our industry more broadly. Everything that we know from decades and decades of education research and practice shows us that children learn most effectively when they're actively engaged, right? When they can connect their learning to their interests and their passions and their communities. And probably now more than ever, we need children learning together. So much of computer science and AI education, you know, it happens sort of staring at a screen, sometimes even with headphones on, right? Isolated from the children around them. If there is one skill that we're going to pass on to the next generation, it should be the ability to collaborate. So these values, all of these principles for LEGO Education, they come together in this checklist, right? And the first one is that we prioritize child agency and engagement in everything that we do. Children need to feel a part of their learning, and they need to have their voices heard. The next is that we empower children with a fundamental understanding of how AI works. Not just chasing the latest frontier models, but getting down into the nitty-gritty of what makes these systems work. 10 years ago, now, and 10 years into the future. It's all the same stuff, right? The next one is that we need to uphold child safety and well-being as an absolute. In my team, we call these red lines, lines that we will not cross in order to protect the safety and well-being of children. Something that I like to say to my team is never let the tail wag the dog. And what I mean by that is never let the tech lead the learning. Never let the tech lead what's right for the child. We need to start with what we want children to learn and how we want them to learn it. And then the tech follows that. And then the last is fostering hands-on and creative and collaborative experiences for children. You know, I don't want computer science and artificial intelligence to be seen as a subject for dorks or for nerds or for geeks, right? Like, we want every child to engage with these topics and feel a part of it. And hands-on creative learning is such a powerful tool for that. But of course, none of this can happen. None of this works without teachers, without educators. We cannot simply drop new standards and mandates and new tools on educators without the scaffolding to support them. I like to argue that the challenge that we have is not just access to tools, but access to confidence. If teachers don't feel confident bringing these topics into the classroom, then we can't do this, right? This won't work. And so I want to welcome two amazing educators onto the stage from the Leo Academy Trust, who are just thinking so thoughtfully about all of this. And they're going to share with us their thoughts about how we close these gaps. So welcome to the stage. So, yes, thank you so much. So there's a bunch of numbers here, and I want to get them right. So I'm going to read this intro. So Leo Academy Trust serves over 7,000 pupils from across the London boroughs of Sutton and Surrey. Formed in 2015, they've developed a family of great learning communities formed from 14 primary, is it still 14? Yes, 14 primary schools. And today we are joined by Cheryl Shirley, who's the Director of Digital Learning, and Julaan Govier, a class teacher, a curriculum leader, and a digital champion. Thank you both so much. It's been really nice to get to know you folks over the last little while. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Julaan, I'm going to start with you. I talked a little bit about the difference between use and understanding and building earlier. I know this is something that you and the Leo Academy Trust team think really thoughtfully about. Can you define what foundational AI literacy means for you?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So yeah, at the Leo Academy Trust, we really believe that if we just teach children the how of AI, that they're actually just going to be passive passengers. And we often describe the current landscape in technology as being like an AI avalanche. It's our job to make sure that children don't just run away from that or hide. We actually want them to ride the wave safely, with purpose and skillfully. To focus on foundational AI literacy, we move from a black box mentality to a glass box mentality. And we want them to not just think about how to write a prompt, but to understand the mechanics under the hood. And we do this in like three approach ways. So we kind of think on three specific things. The first thing, which ties very nicely in with the Lego, is that playful, practical, and we think about metacognition. So we want to use hand-on tools and educate children to use physical technology, but to make abstract concepts tangible. We want them to think about their own thinking and reflect. And when the machine learns, we want them to compare that to how they learn. We also then focus, secondly, on computational thinking. We want to strip away that mystery and the magic that you talked about. And our curriculum ensures that children understand the difference between computer vision, statistical data, and also natural language processing. And when they understand the how, then that magic turns into a tool that they can actually control. And then the third and final, which I think is probably the most important, which you've mentioned, is that ethical compass. Most importantly, we want to dig into the should we, not just could we. So literacy means being able to spot bias, transparency, and making sure that we understand that data is never neutral.
Thank you. Cheryl, I have a question for you, and it's sort of born out of a conversation that we had. Can you share some insights on how Leo Academy Trust has developed its AI policies and curriculum? I think you have some lessons learned the hard way that you could share.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when sort of generative AI became more popular, I guess, I think schools went into sort of reaction mode. I think everybody kind of thought they needed to have a policy that would, set expectations and all of that. And we did exactly the same. We really thought about, okay, we'll put this policy in place. But I think the more we've kind of lived with the policy, the more we've sort of realized and we sort of really stripped back and thought, actually, this aligns in everything that we do. This is our kind of golden thread throughout every single policy that exists in our trust. And so we made a bit of a pivot, and we've kind of shifted now. We're not ring fencing it into its own document. And we're thinking about how does AI fit into our teaching and learning strategy, and actually, it's in there now, defining how we're using generative AI to support with assessment, planning, etc. And then it's in our online safety policy, again, because it's there, adding in about how we're approaching things like deepfake, misinformation, and it's aligning with our current curriculum. It's in our data protection policy, again, because we're looking at how we're able to manage privacy with AI, with data and models. And we're choosing AI that has been through really strict checks, as we do with any digital tool. And it's in our staff code of conduct, most importantly, ensuring that our workforce is using AI and we're setting boundaries in professional use as well. And I think the lesson we've learned here is really simple. If we have that separate policy, we're making it niche, and it's the job of the IT team. It's somebody's responsibility, and actually, by threading it through everything, it becomes everybody's responsibility.
Yeah. Speaking of making things niche, I have a question for you, Julaan. So I was talking earlier about like so many children see AI and computer science as like for nerds, right? And so I'm really curious what approaches you have found to break through this barrier and engage all learners.
I think it's a great question, and I agree. For too long, computer science has been seen as like a nerd subject, that maybe something that happens in a dark room with a kind of glowing light. But we want to move and engage every learner. We want to change that narrative from technical skill to the creative empowerment we can give our young people. So at Leo, we break through the nerd divide by using 3 main strategies. Again, back to that playful nature. We want to use practical learning. We use hand-on tools like Lego and other kind of online platforms and hand-on things. And we want to take that scary out of the abstract. When a child builds a physical model and sees it move and react, they're not just coding, they're creating. We want to turn AI from that technical hurdle to a creative tool, just like a paintbrush or a building block or even a Lego brick. And second, we focus on real-life context. So we don't start with algorithms and coding and all of that language. We start with their real lives. We want them to think about Netflix and YouTube and things like that when they make predictions about what children want to watch next. So we talk about how AI is in their everyday life experiences, and it stops being nerd stuff, and we like to think it becomes life stuff. And finally is the idea that we position AI as a co-pilot. We want to show people how we can enhance storytelling and creativity and music, and that brings the dreamers, the artists, the storytellers who might have originally checked out of a computer science lesson. So overall, I think we've shifted our mindsets. We tell our students that it's not just for future software engineers or coders, it's for future designers, activists. We focus on the human element. We want that ethics, the fairness, the social impact, and we like to think we engage the heart as well as the mind.
Thank you. So I've got one final question for you, Cheryl. So I think there are probably quite a few education policymakers and potentially administrators in the audience. If there was one thing you'd like to leave them with, what is it?
It's a tricky one because, again, I've been thinking about this. This is my moment, so I'm going to make it really kind of clear here. But I think I'd ask policymakers to reflect really carefully on the current system and think to themselves, are they genuinely preparing young people for the world in which they are going to be living in? I think you have an opportunity here right now. You could just use AI to prop up the existing systems. Marking the same tests, writing the same reports, and again, just faster. Or you could recognize this opportunity for what it is, and it is the single greatest opportunity in our lifetime to reimagine education. And I think we're definitely at a point now where we can genuinely make learning inclusive for everybody, and we can support the young people that some of the current systems let down. And I think we've got an opportunity here to make education more impactful than it's ever been before.
Thank you. That's a wonderful note to end on. So I think I'm going to invite the audience, if you are curious about how we change and transform all of these different values that we talked about today into practice, I would invite you to come over to our booth that's just out there. And rather than listen to a bunch of people on stage talk about stuff, why don't you can come over and play with stuff. So please join us over at the booth, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.